Okay, I just wanted to go over the practice quiz and try to give you things that could be on the other quiz and things we could learn from this practice quiz. Okay, so question number one, in a market economy, government intervention will always improve. No, I mean, government intervention usually gives you deadweight loss. Will never improve. No, and externalities, you're going to get government intervention improving. So when you look at D, may improve market outcomes in the presence of externalities, that's correct, because if you have negative externality, a tax is going to improve it, as it's going to get you more to the socially optimal. And that's the same for a positive externality, except there a subsidy would improve it. Okay. Since restored historical, all right, they convey a positive externality because they're worth more than the building, because they bring historic, significance to the community, maybe raising the value of the community. Also, people might enjoy seeing the historic building. So government regulates the demolition. So, you just can't knock those buildings down if you want to build like an apartment house or something that would make you more money. And they provide tax breaks. So, it's not a subsidy, but in a way it is, because you're paying less taxes. So it's lowering your cost of keeping the building. So you get D, A, and B. All right, which of the following is an example of a positive externality? Sue not catching the flu. No, that's why Sue pays for the vaccine. That's a private benefit. Sue not, catching the flu. Mary not catching the flu from Sue. Now that's the externality. Mary's the third party, okay? Sue is the person who got the vaccine, but Mary's not affected, and she benefits by being a third party, and that's why B as in broccoli is the right answer. Sue catching the flu because she did not get it, well, that's not a positive externality. She caught the flu. Mary catching the flu from Sue, again, no positive externality there. Okay, let's see, could I scroll down a little here, and let's look at number 3. All right, when we look at number 3, we have demand. The first demand curve, where it just says demand, you could say private value or private benefit. And then you have the second demand curve, social value or social benefit. All right, anytime you're going from private to benefit to social benefit, you know that it's a positive externality. And the supply curve could equal marginal social cost. All right, so when we're looking here, the optimal is where marginal social cost, which is this, intersects with marginal social benefit or social value, which is here. They're asking you for the quantity, right? So if I go down, that's going to be 10 units. All right, obviously, what questions can they also ask out of this grid? They could ask you for the optimal price, which, of course, if we take this, is 10. They could ask you for the market. Now, the market would be with a private value or the private benefit equals the marginal social cost, which is here 8 and 10. Okay. Now, another question they like to ask is at the private or at the market value, which I'm just going to put that red dot there. At the market value, is marginal social value greater or less than the price at the market? Well, the price at the market is 8, but if I'm going to look at the marginal social benefit at that, I got to scroll up here, and that's probably closer to 14 or 13. So therefore, I know that at the market equilibrium, marginal benefit is greater than price. Okay, so those are the kind of questions they could ask out of this graph. The one I just did, asking like at the market, what's greater, the price or the marginal benefit, is, I would say, one of their favorite type of questions. All right, so we'll scroll down. All right, here, let me just try to get the eraser out. All right, here we're going from private cost to social cost. So I know that we are having a negative externality. Now the demand curve could be marginal social value or marginal social benefit. They're just not labeling it. So what is price and quantity combination? All right, socially optimal. Again, just like last problem, is going to be where marginal social cost, we're going to just put, and here it would be quantity optimal, because it's where marginal social cost intersects marginal social, would intersects marginal social benefit, and that would be Q optimal, okay, rather price optimal. All right, so it'd be P2, I guess, Q1. So the answer there, P2, Q1, the answer there is B, as in broccoli. All right, now, what else could they ask you here? They could ask you here, the difference between the two lines right here. They could ask you the external benefit. All right, external benefit would be P3 minus P1, right? That line, that's the external benefit. They could ask you the market. All right, I'm going to mark the market here, quantity M down there. So the market, which would be, I have a hard time seeing, that looks like P1 QO. All right. And then again, like I asked you, like I said before, they could say if the market is the market price higher than the social cost, marginal social cost. Well, here is the market price, and up here is the marginal social cost at the market, equilibrium. So the marginal social cost is higher at the market equilibrium than the market price. All right. And then again, in a situation like this, they could say, what would government do to get the market to socially optimal? Well, the government is going to create a tax, and the tax should equal the external cost, which is that. Okay. All right. So those are the type of questions I could see coming out of that type of graph. All right. Now we're going to roll down, and this is kind of a little different. All right. So we have private value, private cost, and external cost. If I see external cost, I know it's a negative externality, right? Because if it's a positive externality, I'd see external benefit. Now, how large would a corrective tax need to be? All right, the tax is going to equal the external cost. So the external cost is 2, the tax needs to be 2. The answer is there. Now, what could they ask you here? They could ask you what is the socially optimal equilibrium. All right, so that would be the private value or demand equaling the marginal social cost, which is private cost plus external cost. So if I'm looking for the socially optimal, this is like, it'd be 12, it'd be 13, it would be 14. All right, so I'm going to take the demand curve, which is the private value at 13, equals the marginal social cost, which is 13. So quantity 2 would be socially optimal. I'll put in over there for socially optimal. All right. And what I'm just getting is 13 equals 13. We're getting the equilibriums of and the private value, you can really say for the demand, is the marginal social benefit, because it doesn't get added. It's going to equal the marginal social cost. So 13 is going to equal 13. Now, how about if they ask you for the market value? Well, the market value doesn't have external cost involved. So there, I'm going to look, and it's going to be 12 equals 12. So it's going to be quantity 3, okay? Because that's going to be the private value. Now, we know then in a negative externality, we overproduce. So the market here is 3, and the optimal is 2. So yes, we are overproducing. So that means we kind of check that out right. And that's why we would need that $2 external tax. Erase everything and we'll scroll on down. Scroll down. All right, here we go. All right, so figure 10.4, here we go with another. If this market is producing at Q2, all right, let me get Q2. All right, that's this line. So this is Q2's equilibrium right up here. All right, so if the market's producing at Q2 where social force equals demand, all right, that is our optimum. All right, so if the market is currently producing at Q2, then total economic well-being would be would increase if output. Well, we're at the socially optimal, so we don't want to go anywhere. So the answer is going to be D, stayed the same. Okay. Now, again, what could they ask here? They could say if you're at the market value, and the market would be here, right? This would be the market equilibrium. What would you have to do to increase social well-being? Well, there you'd have to decrease production, okay? Or put a tax on, you know, an excise tax. They could ask you, like, what represents external cost? And that would be that line right there. Line, that would be external cost. They could ask you, again, the quantity of the market, which would be Q3. They could ask you the quantity of the socially optimal, which would be Q2. So those are the type of questions I could see them asking there. If you notice, like from the graphs, like they're pretty much asking, you know, I'm giving you things that they could ask, which are pretty much repetitive. So I think if you really get these graphs down, it's going to help you. All right, which of the following, number 8, which of the following statements is correct? And that's B, government should tax goods with negative externalities because we over-allocate the negative and subsidize goods. And remember, you're subsidizing like the consumer because you're underproducing. All right, number 9 is a tough one if you haven't looked at these. So these are saying, what is the price, like, you know, to get rid of the first unit of pollution, second, all right? And what they're saying is, how could I go, for right now I have 16 units of pollution, how could I get that from 6? The only way I know how to do this is kind of through process of elimination. So say 67. All right, so 67, I get rid of 1 unit, 2 units, because these are under 67, so that would get rid of 3 units, 4 units, 5 units. No, that's costing 68. I can't get rid of it. 6 units. All right, I'm only getting rid of 6 units. I'm having 10 units left of pollution, so that isn't the answer. Now, if I raise it to be 68, I get rid of that unit, so now I have 7 units. That's not the answer. If I raise it to 81, I now get rid of 8 units of pollution. No, that's not the answer. If I raise it to 83, I get rid of 9, 10, and I'm left with 6 units of pollution. All right, so they could ask you anything, like they could ask you 4 units, 8 units. All you have to do is go through the process of elimination. And if it's 67 or under, that eliminates that unit. Like 68 or under, that eliminates that unit. And you just finally figure out how many units of pollution they want. All right. Again, I think that's a tricky graph if you've never seen it and the first time you see it is on the test. All right, 10, which is about smoking, right? Smoking, suppose that smoking creates a negative externality. The government imposes a per cigarette tax equal, what's going to happen? So, all right, if they put a per unit tax equal to the external cost, we're going to get to the socially optimal, right? Because that's what the tax will get you if it equals the external cost. So the after-tax equilibrium of quantity smoke, so C as in Caroline is the answer. All right. Number 11 is about Ed, and again, this might be a tricky one. So Ed is a writer. Ed lives nearby to Ricky, the drummer for the local band. Ricky needs a lot of practice, earns a share of band. So Ricky makes $250. Ed gets distracted by Ricky's drumming, but needs to get his writing done to earn $500. All right, so if Ed needs to hire a lawyer, Ed has to pay his lawyer less than $500, because if he pays him more than $500, then he's losing money. He gets the $500 for writing, but he gets nothing, So the answer would be C as in Caroline, less than 500. Now, if they flip this and they ask you for Ricky, Ricky would have to pay less than 250, right? Because he's earning 250 by practicing his drum. Now, somewhere in the compromise would be, Ed could pay Ricky, a certain amount of money, he could actually pay Ricky kind of 250 to stop drumming. So Ricky would make his profits, Ed would make more. So those are the type of situations they could do. And that's C, less than 500. And then the last one, honey producers provide a positive externality. And that's C, because the orchard owner does not have to purchase bees to pollinate the flowers, because the honey producers now have bees, and so that the flowers are getting pollinated by them. All right, that's kind of a brief summary. I hope that helped in giving you potential things that could be asked on your actual quiz.